Hey guys, welcome to R6. We are dividing polynomials today. So last class we were adding them, we were defining them, adding them, subtracting them, and multiplying them. Now we are going to divide them. Okay, just to quickly cover it, if we are dividing a polynomial by a monomial only having one term, what we do is we split it up. So a plus b divided by c becomes a being divided by c, followed by b being divided by c. A plus b over c is the same as a divided by c plus b divided by c. C can't be 0 because that would not be dividing polynomials, would it? All right. They are split into individual fractions, and then you try to simplify those fractions if possible. Good. So here we have negative 12a to the third divided by 3a plus 36a divided by 3a minus 15 divided by 3a. Good. If I split those up, can I divide them? Good. All right. So I take negative 12a to the third divided by 3a. 3 goes into negative 12 negative 4 times. A goes into a to the third. A times a over a. We can cancel out one of the a's, and we get a squared. 36. Good. 36 divided by 3 is 12. A divided by a cancels it out. 3 goes into negative 15 negative 5 times, but there's no a to cancel out this a, so we're going to leave an a on the bottom. Okay? So our final answer is negative 4a squared plus 12 minus 5a. Same thing. This becomes 10t to the fourth over 5t squared minus 35t to the third over 5t squared plus 5t squared over 5t squared. Good. 10 divided by 5 is 2. T to the fourth divided by t squared is t squared because we're subtracting them. 35 divided by 5 is a 7, and it's negative. T to the third, t squared, I have 1t. 5t squared divided by 5t squared is just 1. It's not 0. Good? All right. Now, dividing true polynomials, okay? Polynomial means there's more than one term. So those were monomials that we were dividing by, so it's easier to turn it into a fraction, simplify the fraction if possible. However, for dividing by polynomials, we are going to use long division. Do you remember long division, like when you were in an earlier math class? 525, let's say, divided by 3. Okay? What we do is we put the 523, I say inside the house, 3 outside the house, and then you just look at your first term. The first digit in when we're doing polynomials will be your first term, and then look at the 3. How many times does 3 go into 5? 3 goes into 5 one time. Okay? Take that 1, multiply it by your 3. 1 times 3 is 3, and then subtract that, write it under the 5 and subtract it. 5 minus 3 is 2. 3 cannot go into 2, so I'm going to bring down my next 2. Can 3 go into 22? Yes. 22 divided by 3 is 7, right? It's okay that it's 7 and a remainder. 7 times 3 is 21, so I'm going to put that below the 22. I'm going to subtract it. 22 minus 21 is 1. I can't put 3 into 1, so I'm going to bring down the 15, or sorry, the 5. It's going to become 15. 15 goes into 3 5 times. 5 times 3 is 15. Subtract that. Remainder 0. Okay, so that's long division. If you did have a remainder, should have invented an example with a remainder. If you had 526, right? Then it would be 1, 7, you would get to 16, right? And then you would say, okay, that's still 5. 3 times 5 is 15. I'm going to subtract 16 minus 5, and I have a 1. Remainder 1. Or you can write it as 175 and 1/3. Good. If you have a remainder, you put it over what you were dividing by to get the technical answer, okay? These are the same skills we're going to use to divide polynomials. Ready? 7,256 divided by 43. I can't, 43 doesn't go into 7. Does 43 go into 72? At least one time, right? So I'll say 43 times 1. 43 times 1 is 43. 72 minus 43 is 29. Bring down the 5, and it's now 295. 43 goes into 295 6 times. 243 times 6 is 258. You subtract those, you get 37. Bring down the 6. 376 divided by 43, 344. Your remainder is 32. So you can call that remainder 32, or you can call it 168 plus 32 43s, because the 43 is what we were originally dividing by. Same thing here, okay? So we had 72 and 43 to get that 1, right? Here, you're going to look at your first term, 28x squared, and your first term here, 7x, okay? How do I go from 28x squared to, how do I go from 7x to 28x squared? 28 divided by 7 is 4. So it's going to be 4x squared. From x to x squared, I'm going to multiply it by x. So 7x times 4x is going to get me as close as I can get to 28x squared. Good? Now, you have a 4x here. 4x times 7x, okay? 4x times 7x is 28x squared. Now you need to do 4x times the positive 3. 4x times the positive 3 is 12x, okay? Then what these two bars are is a reminder that we subtract, okay? 28x squared minus 28x squared, 0. Negative 23x minus 12x is a negative 35x, okay? Because we have two terms here, we want to bring down the next term, so that's a negative 15. Now, just like you've looked at 28x squared and 7x, you're going to look at negative 35x and 7x. So when I look at negative 35x and 7x, it's a negative 5, okay? So I put that negative 5 up here. Negative 5 times 7x is going to give me 35x, negative 35x. Negative 5 times a positive 3 is going to give me a negative 15. They become positives because we need to subtract, okay? Negative 35x plus 35x is 0. Negative 15 plus 15, 0. So our answer is 4x minus 5, no remainder. What is important to note is that if you take this part and this part and you multiply them together with FOIL, you'll end up with 28x squared minus 23x minus 15. Negative 35 plus 12 is a negative 23 minus 15, okay? All right, something else I want to make clear to you that will come up in one of the questions on my math lab is the terms for each of these parts when you are dividing polynomials, okay? So if I have the number 75, it's being divided by 9, what will I get? 9 goes into 75 8 times, right? 9 times 8 is 72. 75 minus 72 is 3. Okay, the terms. 3 is the remainder. Okay. 9 is the divisor. Good. 75, there is no 73. 75 is the dividend. And 8 is the quotient. So we have the divisor there. We have the dividend. We have the quotient. And then we have a remainder. When you are doing division, to check division, the expression that is being divided, the dividend, should equal the product of the quotient plus the divisor, the product of the quotient and the divisor, so multiplication of this, plus the remainder. Okay, so multiply these two, you'll get this back. It means quotient times divisor is dividend. If there's a remainder, you multiply the divisor and the quotient, and then you add the remainder at the end. Good? Okay. Here we have in fraction form, and the divisor is on the bottom, okay? I like to put it back into this form. C squared but plus 3c minus 2 is being divided by c plus 1. Good? Again, look right at your first term in the polynomial and your first term, in the dividend. Look at your first term in the divisor, okay? How do I get from c to c2? I'm going to multiply it by c, okay? Since there are two terms, I'm going to line that up with the second term. And then I'm going to take that c and I'm going to multiply it by this c. C times c is c squared. It's positive, right? Positive, positive. C times 1 is a positive c, okay? But we're going to subtract all of that. Sorry, I picked the worst color. We're going to subtract all of that, okay? C squared minus c squared, just as we wanted, that becomes 0, right? Positive 3c minus c. So 3 minus 1 is 2c. I'm going to bring down the negative 2. Same thing. Here I looked at c squared and c. Now I'm going to look at the 2c and the c. How do I get from c to 2c? I multiply it by positive 2. Okay? 2 times c is 2c. 2 times 1 is a positive 2. Okay? Now, remember we're subtracting. 2c minus 2c, negative 2 minus 2, negative 4. Okay? So in this case, because there's nothing else to bring down, I have a remainder. So my answer is c squared plus 3c minus 2 over c plus 1 is c plus 2 minus 4 over c plus 1, or that this is my quotient and 4 is my remainder. My quotient is c plus 2. My remainder is a negative 4. Here we have y squared minus 5y plus 6 divided by y minus 2. Weirdest 2 you've ever seen. A very important point is you want this in descending order, y squared, y, no y. How do I get from y squared, from y to y squared? I'm going to multiply it by y. Okay, now I go back and I say y times y is y squared. Y times a negative 2 is a negative 2y. And then I subtract. Y squared minus y squared cancels. 5y minus a negative 2y is like 5y plus 2y, so that's a negative 3y. Bring down the 6, okay? Negative 3y, how do I get from a positive y to a negative 3y? I multiply it by a negative 3. Negative 3 times y, negative 3y. Negative 3 times a negative 2 is a positive 6. Subtract all that. Negative 3y plus 3y, 0. Positive 6 minus 6, 0. So there's no remainder. If I take y minus 3 and I multiply it by y minus 2, if I take this and I multiply it by this, I should get this back, okay? Still in descending order, so that's good. We're going to take 3x cubed minus 2x squared plus 5x plus 4, and we're going to divide it by x minus 2, okay? All right, 3x cubed, from x to 3x cubed, I'm going to multiply it by 3x squared. 3x squared times x becomes the 3x cubed. 3x squared times a negative 2 is a negative 6x squared. Good. Now I'm going to subtract. Those cancel. Negative 2x squared minus a negative 6x squared is adding the 6, right? Minus a negative is a plus. So 6 minus 2 is a 4x squared. Bring down that 5x. How do I get from x to 4x squared? I multiply it by a positive 4x. Good? Positive 4x times x becomes a positive 4x squared. Positive 4x times a negative 2 is a negative 8x. Subtract all of that. Those cancel. 5 plus 8 is 13x. Okay? Bring down the 4. 13x plus 4. How do I get from x to 13x? Add 13. 13 times x is 13x. 13 times a negative 2 is a negative 26. And then we're going to subtract them. 13x minus 13x is 0. 4 plus 26 is 30. So we're going to say remainder 30, or 3x squared plus 4x plus 13, and since it's a positive 30, we'll say plus 30 over x minus 2. Okay? All right, now a way to do it faster, okay? It's called synthetic division. You can find the quotient and the remainder when a polynomial of degree 1 or higher is divided by what we refer to as x minus 3, okay? It's a shortened version of long division. It's called synthetic division. If you understood all of that without synthetic division, that's okay, okay? But what you want to do with synthetic division is once you get the hang of the pattern, it's a bit faster, a faster way to solve division problems, okay? So what we do is we create a we create a divisor box, okay? So your first move is to create what is called a divisor box. In that divisor box goes the inverse of the constant of your divisor, okay? So right now this is my divisor, remember. The constant is a +1, so the opposite of that is going to be a -1. The opposite of the constant of your divisor. The constant is 1 because it doesn't have a c or an x with it. So the opposite of that is -1. If it's a negative, if it's a minus, make it a plus. If it's a plus, as in this case, make it a minus, okay? Now, you want to ensure that the dividend is in order. C squared, c to the first, c to the 0 place. Now, you're going to take each of these. Here's your first one. You're going to write that next to the divisor box. You're not going to include the c squared. You're just going to write the number in front of the c. If there's nothing, you just write a 1, okay? So that is a 1c squared, so I'm just going to write the number 1. Then we have a positive 3c, so I'm just going to write 3. It's a positive 3. And then we have -2 as our last one. You are set up, okay? You took the terms, c squared, 3c, -2, okay? Take that 1, bring it all the way down, okay? Now, what you want to do is you're going to bring it back up right here, but you're going to multiply it by -1. 1 times -1 is a -1. Now combine it with 3. You don't need to subtract, you're just combining it with the 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. Put it back up. Remember, at this point, we are multiplying it by the divisor, by what's in the divisor box. Multiplying it by -1. 1 times -1 becomes -1. 2 times -1 becomes -2. Good? -2 plus -2 is a -4. That is the end of synthetic division. Now you just have to put it back into the same form as the divisor and the dividend. So we have c squared plus 3c minus 2. We accounted for each of those. There's the c squared, there's the 3c, and there's the -2. What you're going to put your answer, the form your answer will be found in, is one term less. So if you start with c to the power of 2, you're going to begin your answer with c to the power of 1. So we have 1c, 2 as our constant, and then if you have a term left over, that's going to be your remainder. So our answer is c plus 2, remainder -4. Or c plus 2 times c plus 1, and then you add in your remainder, and you will get c squared plus 3c minus 2. Sorry, I was not using my correct notes. Here are the updated notes with another example. So same situation, you're going to make your divisor box. In your divisor box, you're going to put the opposite of the constant of the divisor, right? So the constant is -4, so it's going to be a +4. Now you're going to make sure that you have x to the third, x squared, x, and a constant. Represent each of those, okay? We have my 6. We have my -26. We have a +6. And we have an 8. Good? Ready. You are ready. Now, bring that 6 straight down. Take that 6, multiply it by 4, right? 6 times 4, 24. Combine them, don't worry about subtracting. -26 plus 24 is a -2. Take that, multiply it by that 4. -2 times 4 is a -8. 6 minus 8 is another -2. -2 times 4 again is going to be -8. 8 minus 8 0. Okay, we are done. Now remember, put it back into the correct form, 6x to the third. So now we're going to say our answer is 6x squared, because you're just going to start one exponent lower than this one. Okay, 6x squared minus 2x minus 2, remainder 0. Good. All right, here we have x squared plus 14x plus 45 divided by x plus 5. If you don't like scientific, if you don't like synthetic division, you can do it the other way as well. So divisor bar gets a -5, and then we add 1, a positive 14, and a positive 45. Good? The 1 comes straight down. 1 times -5 is a -5. 14 minus 5. 14 minus 5 is 9. And then 9 times a -5 is a -45. So we are again ending with a 0. We started with x squared, so we're going to say that that 1 is just a 1x, and then that's plus 9, remainder 0, which means if I take x plus 5 and I take x plus 9, if I multiply them together, I should get that answer. Here is an example. I know I made the font too small. Here is an example of a polynomial that is not in standard form. So the first thing you want to do is rewrite this. And I just start copying the first number. That's okay. -2 x to the third, but -5x wouldn't come next. Next would be -10 x squared minus 5x. Okay, so now that's in standard form, x plus 4. Ooh, something I haven't even brought up yet. If 3, 2, 1, 0, okay, you need to make space for each term. If a term is missing, you have to put in a 0, okay? So now, divisor box gets a -4. We're going to use -2, -10, -5, and don't ignore that 0, okay? All right. -2. -2 times a -4 is a positive 8. -10 plus 8 is another -2. -2 times -4 is another positive 8. 8 minus 5 is 3. 3 times -4 is a -12. 0 minus 12 is a -12. So what we're working with is, this starts with x to the third, so we're going to start with x squared. -2x squared minus 2x plus 3, remainder -12. Good? Okay. 5, 3, -5. Here's a good example of what to do if you have spaces. So we have x to the 5th. We don't have x to the 4th. So what I call that is 0x to the 4ths. And then we have 1x to the 3rd. And then again, we have 0x squareds. And we have 0x's, but then we have a -5. Okay, so that's what you actually have to work with, x minus 2. When we're doing synthetic division, again, you're going to start with the dividend. In the divisor box, you're going to put a positive 2. Is that too high? We're going to put a positive 2. Start over. Good. This is a 1. That's a 0. That's a 1. That's a 0. That's a 0. And that's a -5. 1 remains a 1. 1 times 2 is 2. 0 plus 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 times 2 is 20. 20 times 2 is 40. 40 minus 5 is 35. Good? So what you have now is, you started with x to the 5th, so you need to call this x to the 4th. 2x to the 3rd, 5x squared 10x 20 remainder 35. Okay? It's fast, but it can get complicated. Last one, we have x to the fifth minus 4x to the fourth minus 6x to the third plus x squared minus x plus 46 divided by x plus 2. Okay, what I want you to notice is all of these to do synthetic division have to have x only to the first power. Okay, x to the first power, x to the first power, x to the first power, or c to the first power. It can't be x squared. Okay, so x plus 2, that means in my divisor box, I get a negative 2. Next to it, I'm going to put a 1, a negative 4, a negative 6, a 1, a negative 1, and a 46. Bring that one straight down. 1 times negative 2 is a negative 2. Shouldn't have taken me that long. Negative 4 minus 2 is a negative 6. Negative 6 times a negative 2 is a negative 12. Oh, it's a positive 12. I did that last time too. Now I have 6. Positive 6 times a negative 2 is again 12, but this time it's a negative 12. Negative 12 plus 1 is a negative 11. Negative 11 times a negative 2 is a positive 22. 22, excuse me, minus 1 is a 21. 21 times a negative 2 is a 42, but it's a negative 42. 46 minus 42. 4. All right, so the final one is x minus, look at what you started with. You started with x to the fifth, so we're going to say x to the fourth minus 6 x to the third plus 6x squared minus 11x plus 21 remainder 4. All right, before we go, I also skipped example 3 part 2. So what I want you to notice is this is x squared. This one would just be considered x or c, right? c squared, x squared. If you have an x squared plus 1, you cannot use synthetic division, okay? You have to go back to the old way. X squared plus 1, x to the fourth. Again, there's nothing between x to the fourth and 3x squared, so you have to say plus 0x to the third plus 3x squared plus 10. And then we're going to do it by hand. So to get from x squared to x to the fourth, we're going to multiply by x squared, and I should have put it over here, right? Ooh, even this one, we need plus 0. Hold on, I'm going to rewrite this. Okay, jump shot. We went from this, I wrote it wrong here, to this, okay? So it was x squared plus 1. It was missing the x, so I'm going to put a 0x between the x squared and the 1 to hold the place. It didn't have an x to the third, so it's a 0x to the third. It didn't have an x, so it's a 0x. Now we're going to do the same thing. How to get from x to the fourth to x squared? I'm going to multiply it by x squared. X squared times x squared is x to the fourth. X squared times 0x is 0x cubed. X squared times 1 is x squared, okay? Remember to subtract those. Canceled, canceled. 3 minus 1 is just 1x squared. Plus 0x, just to hold place, plus 10. Okay, now I'm looking between x squared, and it's just going to be a plus 1, right? 1 times x squared is going to give me that x squared. Take that 1, multiply it by x squared, you get x squared. Take that 1, multiply it by 0x, you get 0x. Take that 1, multiply it by 1, you get 1. Now I need to subtract all of this. X squared minus x squared, 0 minus 0, and 10 minus 1 is 9. So we're going to say it's x squared plus 1 remainder 9. I should be able to multiply this by this and add this and get back to x to the fourth plus 3x squared plus 10. Thank you guys so much, and see you next time.